to say, so what do we mean, Mark? So let's just take it. There would be a lot of people who have seen properties on the weekend. They're going to be getting callbacks from the agent. They're going to be calling agents saying, hey, I like that property. I want to put an offer forward. So I think we're given a really good insight to buyers on potentially how when we get an offer, things we like to hear. I think, well, today we'll focus on things we don't like to hear. And it's more from our experience, and also feedback from owners.
And there's no one teaching buyers how to negotiate and buying a property. I guess when you're a buyer buying a property, you're a bit alone in the forest.
Yeah.
You know, you may speak to uncles or aunties or friends and they may give you tips, but you don't really know, you know, the best person to ask is really a real estate agent, and you can't really ask the real estate agent how to negotiate when you're trying to buy a property off them.
Yes. So let's kick it off. What's what I think one thing I always recommend to buy, well, one thing is for a buyer when making an offer, don't say subject to finance to the agent. Like, even if you haven't had your finance approved, don't give that information up to an agent that basically says you're not ready. You're not as strong as a buyer that hasn't said that, or leave it up to the agent to ask you. Make him ask the question. Don't volunteer information that makes you sound like not a strong buyer. Don't you, like,
well, your buyer's being honest, but the buyer's putting a block in there. So you don't really want any blockages in the pipe. You just want, you know, the agent to think it's going to be a free flowing deal, and the vendor, the seller, to think it's a free flowing deal. Everyone knows it's never going to be a free flowing deal. There's always stuff to do in a deal, but as part of that negotiation, eye on the pie, just focus on pricing. Don't put any blocks into the negotiation, and finance is one of those blocks.
100%, especially because, like, that question, it can mean so many different things. You could be not even speaking to a broker. Like, you could be 1 day away or 1 month away. So unless it's almost like just say nothing. Otherwise, you got to go through the whole story of where you're at. So what next, Mark? What do you recommend?
Luke Moroney said there's an echo on his end on Facebook. Just so you know, he's asked to make a change on Facebook. He's getting a bad echo back.
Yeah, it's because I've got the speaker through Facebook in front of the camera, so I don't think
maybe turn it down just a touch if you can.
Yep.
Now another one that I know that a person should never do is when you make an offer, don't say when you make an offer, see how you go. As soon as you make an offer and you say, look, I know the property's 400,000. I'd like to offer 350,000. Put in 350,000, but see how you go. Just put in 350,000. Now, as soon as a purchaser says that, I know there's 100% more money there.
100%.
The old see how you go, and I think it's almost a nervous thing.
Yeah, it's I always just think to myself, okay, we'll put the offer forward and then we'll just come back with a little bit more. It's I think a lot of the time when you're making an offer, say less is best. Also, when a buyer says I'm not in a rush as well. Like you're going, like, for a buyer, you want that agent to be sort of working for you, hustling to get you that deal. And sort of when you're like, I'm not in a rush, or I don't know, it just sort of implies that you're indecisive and you don't really care. Where you want, even if you don't have to be in a rush, but you don't have to say that you're not in a rush. It sort of just gives, I don't know, just doesn't really add much. Doesn't really add anything to it.
It sort of puts a wet mop on the deal.
Yeah.
It potentially can look like a sexy deal. And then when the buyer says, look, I'm not in a rush, you can almost, as an agent, take that you're not dealing with a motivated person, or you're not dealing with a person that's excited about the property. And when they're not excited, it's hard for you to not be excited, to be excited when they're not excited. So I think you want, super thing. Now, another thing that I must admit, you don't want a buyer being mean.
Yeah.
So sometimes a buyer thinks treat them mean, keep them keen. So with a real estate agent, they think, oh,
it's not dating. You don't need to do that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They think, oh, I'm going to be a little bit sort of walk away attitude, don't care, nonchalant, don't give a shit, arrogant. And the agent just doesn't feel, if you're not emotional for the transaction, the agent won't be emotional for you for the transaction. So
it doesn't convey it to the owner either.
Well, they'll almost hold a mirror up, so it's like, and then you'll be like, well, that was short, but you were short when you're making the offer as the buyer, and you do a short offer, you get a short response. So I would try to, and sometimes people just want to a buyer just wants to get off the phone, because they're nervous, but that can be taken as, do you know what I mean, a little bit of shortness or arrogance, and that may come back in with the response from the vendor.
100%. And I always think, well, when you're making an offer, like there's no value in being arrogant or rude, especially when you need that agent to make a deal. And if you're, as much as we try and be the middle person, like you don't want to, I don't know. It's never sat right with me when someone talks shit about a property and then they make an offer on it. So you either think they're a bit of a dick or they don't really like the property. How serious is the offer? I'd love to know what Amal, you guys, Luke, what do you guys think? When you just hit, basically, what is it that a buyer says and just makes you cringe? Like, why did you say that? Like, just don't say that next time. Or when you guys are making offers on properties, like Luke, you'd be a great example. You're always making a lot of offers on properties on behalf of clients. It's like, what do you guide them, or what do you make sure you don't say or do say? So I love your view. Todd, good morning. Also, Mark, even when a buyer they make the offer and they're like, we don't need a loan, we're all cash. It's, I just sort of think to myself, well, you're going to pay a lot for the property then. You got a lot of money. You don't need a loan. Because I always find that if anything, even if you do have all cash, a buyer can always just say, we're not approved for anything more. That's our best offer. I find when a buyer says that, it's like, shit, we need to listen more. So when you're disclosing that you're not getting a loan, then get a loan and pay more. So I don't really see much value for a buyer sort of stroking their ego, saying it's all cash there. An owner's got too much money.
So basically, don't say I'm a cash buyer. Even if you are a cash buyer, it doesn't limit your offer. It unlimits your offer, which makes the vendor want more money and the agent want more money. Another thing as well, people coming through a property and bagging or exposing or explaining the negatives to the real estate agent. I guess it's okay if it's an emotion or if it's a fact, or if it's brief. But when a buyer comes through and just hammers the shit out of a client's home, or hammers the shit out of a property they're looking at, they often think that if they point out all of the negatives and all of the bad things, they're going to buy it for cheaper. But that can actually erode the chances of a good rapport with the owner, or a good rapport with the agent. And you need a good rapport. Do you know what I mean? In any business transaction, in any negotiation, you need a good rapport. So don't point out the negatives extensively or harshly to try to buy the property for less, while you're eroding the rapport with the
because it doesn't happen, like
the sellers.
We all know the negatives. Like if it's got chip, we all know. And then, but the thing is, well, like, especially as the agent, it's quite emotional on the vendor side. And a lot of the time they either can't do it, or there's an illness. A lot of people aren't selling. There's a lot of bad times why people are selling. They're ill and splitting up or whatever. So they know that they should do those things, but as an agent, we know why they haven't done. So And I don't know, it never sits right when they're just pointing it out. Obviously, in an ideal world, they would have done it, but maybe money didn't help or they were sick. Things like that.
Guys,
so just bad
so
taste.
just to recap, guys, we're talking this morning about buying a property, and when you make an offer on the property, the things not to say when you're making an offer on the property, because there are things there that are going to help you. But this morning we want to talk about the things that won't help you when you're making an offer on the property. And as I was saying before, you're a little bit alone. You don't really have a professional negotiator behind you, and you're negotiating with a professional negotiator when you're making an offer towards an agent. So we're just arming you up this morning with things. If there's anyone watching that's got any great tips, throw them at us as well. For that, Mr. Moroney, I'm waiting for your crackers to come out. The wise man's always got wise words. Now,
so we've got when quoting a price. So I think do you mean like when we quote a price and the buyer just sort of, when they just say, oh, that sounds expensive, or I think it just gives me the shits. Like, I don't mind that comment, but justify it. Like, I think it's almost like a reaction. When you like throw a punch on jabs and moves, it's almost like that sounds expensive. Like, well, based on what? And then I always say based on what? And they got nothing. It's just like it was almost just like I don't know, maybe they've read it online, just saying when someone quotes a price that you talk it down straight away. I think better would be to based on what comparables or where the comparables you came to that pricing. I find really
kindergarten negotiation this morning. How low can you make an offer off the asking price that it actually offends a vendor?
Yeah.
How low? So you want to go low.
What's the lowest they take? What's the lowest they'll take? Like you got to remember, we are employed by the vendor. We want deals to happen, but like, geez, like we're paid by the vendor. Like, what's the lowest they're going to take? Just make an offer and just see. Like, you can make as many offers as you like. You can start wherever you'd like within reason, but like, or what's the lowest they'll take? It just put an offer forward.
So if someone's making an offer, Michael, how low is it where it's offensive? How low is it when someone's making an offer that's like, mate, you're going to ruin the rapport with the client by making an offer like that? So they've seen the property at the range. Say you're asking a guide of 600. When is it a cutover between that's offer abuse? And when is it like, okay, that's a low offer, but let's work with it and it won't offend our client? So would you say 10% less?
No, I don't think there's a fixed percentage. I think find a comparable sale that's lower and you leverage that. And if that's $1,000 less or that's $100,000 less, for example, if you got a two better and you're guiding 700 and one just sold for even 630 or 680, like grab something that you can justify it, because I find at least that way the agent can go, well, they've come in low because this one sold around the corner for X amount. Like, I can get where they got their price, but then we talk the positives. If you just go, let's just say if you're guiding 700 and there hasn't been a two-bedroom sell for less than 690 and you come in at 630, I don't think there's a fixed percentage. I think it's find something similar at the lowest price you can, and then grab that and then offer it and then quote that figure to the agent. Because an owner just goes, well, why they come in 50 grand less or 60 grand or 10 grand less? You go, well, they saw this sale and that's why. And I said yours is better here. I think grab something that you can leverage to quote and then go as low as that or just a little bit lower. I wouldn't go 10%. But
surely you can actually piss off a client by going too low.
Oh, 100%. Let's just say if they were guiding 590, I wouldn't be going less than 20, 30 grand less. What's that? 5%. I reckon 5%.
Yeah. 5%. So 10% could be like a little bit obscene, offensive, even if you've got comparison sales to actually erode the rapport with the negotiation.
Yes. Especially if it's also, keep in mind, there's always a 10% range anyway. So if they're quoting 600, they're probably wanting 660, and then you come in 10% lower, like you're 20% off a deal. Judging that it's all been, just when you sort of know that the agent's already quoting 10% by law, we can quote that, well, within that 10% range of where it's worth, like to go much lower. You're a fair way from the goalpost. Oh, another one, Mark, is have you got anything else? I know when they make an offer and go, have you got anything else?
That's a wet mop. That's a wet mop.
Yeah.
As soon as that's like getting smashed in the face by a wet mop. When someone says, I love this place, I'd like to put an offer in, 600 grand, but have you got anything else? And you're like, oh, you are not serious about this. You're just throwing shit around. I got another one.
We love, like we've done many segments on just make offers, they're free, do it. But don't say that.
What else you got is like, or you can say that at the end of the negotiation, but not at the beginning.
Yeah.
Not at the beginning. It's like you want the agent going in batting for you.
Yeah. Like asking a girl and then go, does she have a friend as well?
Do you have any girlfriends that are single? It's like, why would you start talking to me at the bar and then ask if I've got any girlfriends that are single? I'm single, you idiot. Yeah. Okay. So another one is not seeing the property, making an offer on the property without making the effort to see it. Car dealers are particularly good with this. If you're buying a car off the internet, say car sales, and you're in Sydney, they'll always say, we're not going to negotiate until you come and see the car, because they want to get the emotion. They want to get the emotion kicking in. They want to get that happening. So often, if you want to buy a property, invest your time to go and see the property, invest your time to go and see the agent, and display and get some skin in the game, get some emotion behind it, and that will work for you.
And even if you don't do that, you don't need to admit that you haven't seen it. Let the agent be a good agent and ask you, have you seen it? Like when someone tells me they haven't seen it, I personally don't really negotiate, because your offer means nothing. You can't, because unless you're willing to sign a contract without seeing it, then your offer doesn't mean anything and you're fishing. So also the owner will be like, okay, they've offered this. Have they seen it? No. Well, why the fuck are they making an offer? Like it's So I think as a buyer, you can make the offer and let the agent assume. That's your key. Let the agent assume the basics. Don't give them. Assume that you've got your finance approved. Assume you've seen the property.
We've got an international guest on Instagram at the moment, Mr. One, Simon Polito from Orange County, San Diego. Mr. Polito, what don't you say when you're buying a property as a buyer? What are the things you do not say? That's what we're talking about. Love to get your feedback, buddy. This guy's a pro. Yes. What else? Any other things? Any other tips you can put on?
Long settlement.
Oh, yeah, that's a wet towel as well.
Yeah.
So we got to be really careful the way we word this. But anyone out there who's you got to be really careful. Anyone out there who's buying, always like if you got a long settlement, you got to realize that the agent's doing a business transaction as well as the seller, and agents get paid on settlement. So just be really, really careful that, if you have a 1 year settlement on your purchase, that means the agent's not going to get paid for 1 year. So introduce that later on in the negotiation, not at the beginning of the negotiation. Because
remember from the book of Wogonomics, just hold it back. Just hold it back.
Hold it back.
Hold it back. Just stick to the price. Let the agent assume you're probably asking for a normal settlement. And unless, obviously, if the agent's good and they say the settlement term, you can't lie, or otherwise you ruin it. But if they don't ask you, hold it back. Hold it back.
Hold it back and bring it in later. Definitely. But they're not too far later either. There's timing as well. Also, don't forget, guys, if you're doing a transaction, just call us. we're happy to have a chat with you guys and step you through your offer and your transaction, and it's free. You know, we don't charge anything for the service, so that's what we're here for. What else would you not say when you're negotiating on a property? Anything else before we wrap it up?
I think that's
it. 22 minutes.
Yeah, it's not like we rushed it. That means tomorrow we do what to say, which will probably be a lot shorter, because just say the price and shut up.
It'll be longer again.
Yeah,
it'll be longer again. Things that tickle an agent when making an offer.
Yeah. Alrighty, I think So hope that helps with buyers, even other agents out there, sellers, everyone and anyone, things not to say. And I think it goes for a lot of industries as well. When negotiating, less is more, but there's also some strong key things just to not say. It just
big one. And while we're signing out, thank you everyone for your support on our local awards that we just won, the Australian Awards top 3 for Commercial Agent of the Year. Michael, congratulations.
Thank you.
Unbelievable job. And realcommercial.com.au, realestate.com.au have voted us top 3 agent in the country, up against agents that have 5,000 to 10,000 employees each. And there's us little puppies. So congratulations to the Northern Beaches. Thank you for your support, Northern Beaches. Great community that we're in. And thank you to realestate.com.au and realcommercial.com.au for IDing us and supporting us.
Oh, and we reached 1,000 plays on podcast as well. So thanks everyone tuning in there. So it's good. And tonight we'll have not morning minutes. We'll have what's it called? Monday night.
Novak News.
Novak News.
we could have an industry, one of the most identified people in the Australian property industry on tonight. We're not confirmed, so not name dropping, but it could be tonight. Could be quite a big superstar for the real estate industry on Novak News. So stay tuned. That's at 8 o'clock.
I didn't know I was doing it tonight.
Yeah.
Nah. All righty, all good.
See you, mate. Cheers.
See you in the morning. Ciao.
Bye.